we have to accept the insults. What this woman did was a wake-up call for all the black people who are voters who are listening. This white woman spoke in volumes about the need to keep blacks in their place in so many words. So I'm tired of listening. Well, she better get ready because she has not seen the best yet.
And that, thank you, Carl. And let's, bring in our Gen Zers. We are so proud to have, two very amazing young people who have joined us on the show today, who also, they got something to say because they're in this fight right now, and they are waging it at their college campuses. They're waging it in their communities, this fight for racial justice. We want to welcome to the show, and please, acknowledge that you're here when we call your name. We want to welcome to the show Jayda Jeffrey. She's from the TJC class of 2022, and she is an amazing leader. We just enjoyed her leadership in Phoenix, as she was a team leader of over 6 of our young trainees and was just amazing. And she also has helped founded a nationwide group of young people to fight against book banning and the failure to teach African American history and studies. Welcome, Jayda Jeffrey. How are you?
Good morning. Well, good afternoon to you guys. I'm doing well, and thank you for the introduction.
Yes, we're always proud to have you with us. And I hope that Quincy Robinson, who has been on the show before also, he's also a TJC fellow from that mighty class of 2022, and he was last on the show talking about felony disenfranchisement and about the great work he's been doing in Kentucky to restore the vote to people who were formerly incarcerated. Quincy Robinson, welcome to Ignite Change. Are you there?
Good afternoon. Yes, I am here. How are you?
Oh, so great to hear your voice again. We just are so close to our fellows, and we just really appreciate the two of you being on the show. So what did you think? What do you think about this fight? This fight to rename the Francis Scott Key Bridge, to give it the name of a freedom fighter, Perrin Mitchell, former Congressman Perrin Mitchell of Maryland. What do you think about this particular effort, and what do you think about that? I'm sure you heard that tape, and that just is part of the sentiment of resistance to this movement. So I'll start with you, Jayda.
So, from my understanding, especially going to a state school, just universities in general, where buildings are named after people that are considered honorable to the university because of their contributions, I would like to assume that the same characteristic is something that of honor is something that the person or the object, like the bridge, being named after should have. So it comes down to what our country and what our governments, our local governments decide is honorable. And if they believe that Francis Scott Key is honorable enough to have an entire bridge named after him and for that name to remain, then that just goes to show what they believe honor truly is. It can be the honor to them can be disrespect to us or to anybody else. So that's my thought on it. They believe that honor is what Francis Scott Key stood for. And
all right, now
that just lets us know what we need to do when it's time to go to the polls.
All right,
and
now.
Where are you, Jayda? What state are you in, Jayda?
I'm in Louisiana.
Hey. So
what about Kentucky, Barbara? We have Quincy Robinson down in Kentucky.
Quincy,
he's listening
tell us.
To this battle that's going on in Maryland. And Barbara, we say it's a battle that's going on in Maryland, but it's a battle that's heard across the country. Quincy, when you listened to the tape, what was your response?
That tape is, first off, it's ridiculous. But it goes to show the narratives that people will push about Black people in our struggle for liberation. And there's people who listen to things like that and think it's true. And that reminds me of the ongoing need to stay in the fight no matter what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I want everyone who is listening nationally and internationally to understand is that the government has said that the federal government has said that it will provide 100% of these rebuilding funds. So it's federal dollars. It's all our money that's being used to rebuild this bridge. So we all have a special, consideration about what should be happening here. Now, one thing we haven't talked about is that nefarious third stanza of the Star-Spangled Banner. When we talk about his being a racist, it's not just because he was a slaveholder. It wasn't because he befriended people who said that, such as Taney, who said that blacks had no rights that white men should respect in the Dred Scott decision. But in the third stanza of the Star-Spangled Banner, he writes about his anger and how you should pursue and kill black folks who fought against the creation of who fought for their freedom during the Revolutionary War. And there were quite a lot who did. And he talks about how he singled them out in the stanza, not the people who were loyal to England and all the rest of it. He singled out the black enslaved for his anger and for saying that they all should be killed. Shouldn't that also be part of our dialogue here about, his special targeting of blacks? Go ahead.
I mean, you're absolutely right, Barbara, because, the key did, through that poem, which is what it started out as, he did express this hostile attitude toward enslaved people. In fact, the stanza said, so that our listeners know, that no refuge could save them, meaning blacks, from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave, and that the American flag still waves over the land of the free and the home of the brave. That's the part that we're talking about. That the blacks that supported the British soldiers should be put to death. That they should be in their grave. This is what they want to name the Francis Scott Key Bridge after. This is the conversation we're having, Barbara. Is it
right? And we didn't have. And Carl, we didn't have this power of saying and being listened to like we have now.
That's right.
Back when this bridge was originally built. What do you want everybody to know about this fight? Because this is going to be a fight. There's no way people are going to just roll over and agree with us. Go ahead.
But people like you and Daryl and Jill and the state senator Mitchell, we understand what the battle's about. We look. I think it was the late Clarence Mitchell Jr. who said, "If you see a good fight, join it." It's time for people to join, to get involved in this fight. The reality is tonight in Annapolis, Maryland, I'm going to go to St. John's College. That's the college that Francis Scott Key attended. And there is a debate going on tonight. What is the legacy of Francis Scott Key? And what we need to do is have people who have the kind of information that you and Daryl and others have been sharing. If our community really knew who this man was, we'd have a different interpretation of history. And one point I'd like to really just underscore, it's important who writes the history. The narrative is always who's giving it. We can either look at the fact that George Washington never told a lie, never cut down a cherry tree, or we can understand for what it is, mythology. The fact of the matter is, the more we know about American history, the better we all are. And that's not to say that Thomas Jefferson, who wrote that great document called the Declaration of Independence, it was not a great document. But it's equally true that he raped a 13-year-old black enslaved woman named Sally Hemings. That part of history has to be told. You cannot have a situation, as Malcolm so eloquently said, where democracy and hypocrisy are allowed to coincide with one another. We have to be able to tell the truth as we see it. And it's very, very important for people who are listening, who want to know, what can I do to contribute to this? The great thing about the democracy that we have, and it is a great thing, in a democracy, citizens still have the right to petition their government. That's what this democracy is about. We should have this debate. It should be a robust debate, as it will be, but it should be based on facts, and it should be based on people understanding the power of their vote. Lastly, what will history say about us, Senator Carter, when 50 years from now, when people will look back and say, we had a black governor, we had a black attorney general, we had the largest black delegation to the Maryland General Assembly in the history of this country? What will they say what black people did when they had the power to be able to define the history? History will either vindicate our position or we'll look back in shame when we had this great power and used it, you didn't use it wisely.
And Senator Carter, I think that Carl Snowden there raises a really good point with regards to what happens with the governor here in Maryland, Governor Moore, and whether or not he supports it. Does the General Assembly get on the board? What can you share with us with regards to the battle that goes on within General Assemblies across the country to have places that are named appropriately and inclusively for African Americans?
Well, I can only speak about the Maryland General Assembly, and not just when it comes to naming or renaming monuments to Black people, African American people that have contributed greatly to our cause and our country. In the Maryland General Assembly, Senator Mitchell, it hasn't changed all that much since you were there, to be honest with you. We have a lot more Black legislators, but it is still a struggle to have Black humanity and dignity not only recognized but made a priority. I'm just coming out of this last legislative session, and trust and believe, it's a struggle, even with a lot of Black people in the Black caucus. But it's my belief, and believe it or not, before we left session, I had this conversation with the chair of the Black caucus, that it ought to become a priority and a movement for the Black caucus to have this renamed, this bridge. And because our federal delegation, because the feds are putting a lot of money in it, I would also seek the support of our federal delegation in this renaming. I think that's critically important. I think if there is that collaboration, we'll be able to get something done.
And, Jayda Jeffries, and, Barbara, we're just coming off this training down in Phoenix, Arizona, just an incredible training. And I, of course, invite anybody between the ages of 18 and 35 to go to tjcoalition.org for our next training, which is going to be in September, where we're training Gen Zs on some of the benefits and the strategies of being an activist and how to really protect the right to vote and to ensure an inclusive democracy. But Jayda Jeffries, you just came out of this training. You were one of the leaders in this training when we were down in Phoenix, Arizona, and we were talking about there how Generation Z and the young millennials are actually the largest block of voters, and that how multicultural, multi-generational, and inclusive racial that this generation is. Is this the type of issue that sparks that Gen Z, that young millennial? Is this that call for inclusiveness? Is this that call that says that we should no longer name a bridge after divisive racist people, but should have a bridge that actually is that, a bridge to bring people together? Is this that type of call, Jayda?
Oh, absolutely. I can speak for Louisiana, specifically our capital city of Baton Rouge, where one of the top performing, I believe it's the number 6 or number 7 high school in our state. It's called Liberty High now, but formerly it was Lee High School, named after Robert E. Lee. And the reason it is now Liberty High is because of people who are my age and, of course, with the support of their parents and some people in the generations before us. But the debate was sparked, and I believe 2020 or 2021, where it actually gained traction and eventually had the name changed because people who were at that high school between the ages of 14 and 18, and then people that were at universities like LSU, University of Louisiana Lafayette, we were the ones that were rallying for the decision to be made for it to be named something else. The people that were coming against us saying that it doesn't really matter, it's just Lee, nobody even calls it Robert E. Lee, for one, did not look like us in age nor color, which is everything that you need to know. But this is definitely a move that is supported by Gen Z, because we know that those names mean something. They mean something to somebody, and what they stand for shows what we mean to